They say it takes two people to start a fight, but what happens when one of them chickens out at the last minute and can no longer repent for stepping into the ring against an opponent who had to endure their arrogance before the showdown? Welcome. In today's video, we will take you back to the night when Vitali Klitschko disappointedly stepped out of the ring after being promised a fight until he was shattered and his opponent froze just by seeing him arrive. I hope you are comfortable because this new journey through the history of boxing is about to begin. We travel to the year 2010 when Shannon Briggs demanded an opportunity to face one of the Klitschko brothers as if his life depended on it. The harsh reality pointed out that Briggs, who had been a champion twice, had done nothing to deserve this title shot in the last couple of years. But there was another side to the coin where the heavyweight division was going through a weak period in finding credible contenders for matches worthy of the title at stake. It was precisely the reputation Briggs had built with the strength of his fists that earned him the chance to step into the ring against Vitali Klitschko. Klitschko had the highest knockout percentage in the entire history of the heavyweight championship, but this did not seem intimidating to Briggs, who attended press conferences to publicly threaten him and claim he had no chance of winning inside the ring. So, on October 16, 2010, Vitali Klitschko entered the ring at the O2 World Arena in Altona, Hamburg, Germany, to face one of the most outspoken rivals of his professional career. Ian John Lewis would also enter the ring to referee the match, closely followed by the critical eyes of Guido Cavalieri, Anik Hongtonkum, and Victor Manuel Cervantes, who would have to determine the winner by decision at the end of the scheduled 12 rounds if necessary. Briggs entered the ring after having fought 58 times before, with a professional record of 51 victories, 45 of them by knockout, 5 defeats, and 1 draw. Undoubtedly, his legacy in the discipline gave enough weight to his name to be a credible challenger for Klitschko. Vitali had fought only 42 times before the bout against Briggs, but his professional record was not modest. With 40 victories, 38 of them by knockout, he had been defeated twice before. Despite his formidable opponent's power, the overall outlook seemed very good for the champion, who had to face a true beast to maintain his title. This would be Klitschko's 5th defense of the World Boxing Council heavyweight title, and his challenger was determined to snatch it away with his fists. But would his actions in the ring match his words outside of it? You're about to find out. With the sound of the bell, the fight began. From the start, Klitschko showed dominance. For every step he took, Briggs retreated too. It was evident that it was only the first round of recognition due to the slow pace of the fight, but that didn't stop the Ukrainian warrior from landing good punches on his opponent.
Very good boxer, but there is a way he could win. 9, because one of those was a no contest. Right hand there. Klitschko takes some backing up.
Briggs still seemed unable to decipher how to approach Klitschko's offense for the second round. Showing fear, his inactivity made him an easy target for punches that occasionally landed on his body, inflicting considerable damage.
That taken out of him. Briggs will be looking for a shot here. He'll be looking for something to check. Left hook there from Briggs, and back up Klitschko if they can. Right hand over the top though.
Listening to the crowd chanting his opponent's name, Briggs had to rethink his strategy if he didn't want to keep gifting rounds to the one who, until now, successfully defended his title.
Good left hand, but again, Klitschko's just walking through it, and again he looks to chop down with...
The pace of the fight seemed not to increase significantly during the third round. When Klitschko wasn't attacking, hitting his punches target in the majority of instances, there were flashes of an offensive by Briggs, who didn't seem determined enough to execute a good combination of punches.
It's too good for you. Let's concentrate on matters here. Good right from Klitschko, but Briggs counters with it. Through the left. And can he do it again? They want Briggs to look to the body.
Hasta este punto.
Up to this point, all the promises Briggs had made before the fight seemed like words written in the sand. Briggs had the incentive to go for the body in the 4th round, but Klitschko was already going for his head. Finally, it felt like Briggs actively wanted to win the title, although he had a long way to go before equalizing his chances on the judges' scorecards. The crowd opened the 5th episode chanting Klitschko's name, encouraging him to finish off a challenger who seemed afraid to take a step forward and initiate a close exchange.
He's got to stop him. I think he always knew that.
Briggs threw a couple of low blows, playing with the limit of what was appropriate. Beyond that, he was willing to absorb each of the ruthless punches that the Ukrainian titan easily landed on his body. The sixth round started with the announcement that Klitschko had won each of the previous ones on the judges' scorecards, so Briggs began to see his victory increasingly uphill. The current champion's offensive became harder as seconds passed, possibly due to the frustration of not having reciprocity in his attempts to initiate fluid exchanges. Closing the first half of the scheduled rounds, it seemed that Briggs' words about what he would do to Klitschko once he stepped into the ring had been blown away.
Seventh or the eighth, and he's trying to make it earlier than that. These punches must be getting to Briggs. He does for Briggs.
While Briggs continued testing Klitschko's guard at the beginning of the seventh round, Klitschko kept landing punches on his face.
Again, that right finds a way out of that. Another left hook. Can Briggs weather the storm as he's weathered so many?
Briggs began to appear very tired towards the end of the round, and he was saved by the bell as Klitschko executed a barrage of punches that had the potential to send him to the canvas.
5 seconds to survive now. That's a big right for Klitschko. Briggs is hurt. Briggs is hurt.
The crowd cheered Klitschko again at the beginning of the 8th episode with their chants, causing the champion to exert a little more pressure on his challenger.
Right again.
There was not a single second in this episode where Briggs felt secure. Klitschko's right hand starred in most of the attacks he endured, reduced to a talker who did not prove to be up to his words. Klitschko broke the ice in the 9th round with the force of his punches. Briggs still seemed to not recognize that his job was to take the title from the champion, not stand firm against his attacks. With a distorted perception of the reality they were experiencing, Briggs was saved again by the bell, giving him the breath to fight another round. The 10th round started and the judge's decision was already looming. Briggs was indeed doing a good job absorbing Klitschko's ruthless combinations, who was cornering him against the ropes more easily. With his fists down, he gave the image of a challenger who posed no challenge to his champion.
And he throws that right as well. It's classic stuff for Briggs, throwing as he was going back there. Looked like his legs were a bit unsteady there, and once again Ian John Lewis has a good look, and this time there's a minute.
Exhausted, injured, and bleeding, Briggs went out to fight the 11th episode. At this point, it was evident that he was only trying to make it to the end of the fight on his feet. No matter how much Klitschko lowered his guard, he did not receive any attempt at an attack from his rival. Briggs was the punching bag made of flesh and bone requested to polish the skills of the Ukrainian. The 12th round unfolded under the same energy transmitted throughout the fight, Klitschko dominating an ineffective opponent. Resigned, Briggs absorbed punches in the midst of his attempts to escape the offensive of a fighter he had mocked but had not managed to surpass even in one of the 12 scheduled rounds. With the sound of the final bell, they bumped fists, putting the rivalry aside, and the disappointment on Klitschko's face for the fight he had just been part of was evident. When the judge's decision came, it was only a redundant confirmation of what everyone had already witnessed. Vitali Klitschko was declared the winner by unanimous decision at the end of the 12 scheduled rounds of a fight that was expected to be much tougher. It's not the same to call the devil as to see him coming is the saying that perfectly defines Shannon Briggs' attitude in this chapter of his journey through the history of boxing. Whoever talks a lot does little could also be taken as the stamp to which Briggs was subjected when he stepped out of the ring that night. Undoubtedly, his performance against Vitali Klitschko reminded him that he shouldn't count his chickens before they hatch, and that, no matter how confident he is, he must approach each new challenge with enough humility so that when inevitable defeats come knocking on his door, his words do not backfire. Now that you know the story, do you think Shannon Briggs ever had a real chance of beating Vitali Klitschko? We look forward to reading your comments.